He is risen. He is risen indeed. Today's text is the Gospel according to St. Luke, chapter 12, verses 35 through 53. Duty is another way of confessing the first commandment. Duty is another way of expressing allegiance to Christ. So, is your duty to yourself, to your clothes, to your food, to be a servant of temporal goods? Are you a dutiful servant of anxiety, constantly trying to appease worry and concern? If so, you may be struggling with your identity and who gave to you your identity. Are you a servant? Are you a dutiful servant? And who gave to you that identity, that call? If you are ceaselessly pursuing riches and pleasure, contentment and self-satisfaction, know that God has not given to you that duty, for you are to find your work, your satisfaction, your duty, your identity in Him and Him only. You are not a servant of anyone else. You are a servant of God, dedicated to His righteous works and only to His righteousness. For you are baptized into Christ, and that call of baptism eliminates all other duties to supposed masters, to objects, and to people, and to perishable goods that would have you call them Lord and Master. You have been crucified with Christ. Thus you have died to those other duties and masters and wills imposed on you. You are a dutiful servant of God, fearing and loving and trusting in Him above all things. You are a dutiful servant in the image of Christ, where your duty is the confession of your allegiance to Him, your participation in His life. To set aside duty is to abandon the Father who called you. To set aside duty is to walk away from the Christ who has called you as a holy servant. Now, the term servant to us may not sound appealing, but our Lord uses servant to express the singular devotion of the believer. A servant has no will of his own. What he hears, he does. What she is given, she accepts. The orders that they are given, they follow. And because of that ordered relationship, the master, the owner, is able to leave and then to return, knowing that the duty, the work has been done. Or else. And the or else is the removal from the office of servant, the consequences of not heeding the will of the master and not participating in the joy of the master. Even what the disobedient servant had will be lost. That fear of losing, that fear of wrath, that fear of punishment could be a powerful and unrelenting motivator for some servants, especially given increased office and resources. Failure in them means increased consequences. One might yearn for a lesser office, fewer duties, suggesting that you want to skate by on the thinnest of margins. That barely eking by is an acceptable approach to service in the household of God. Maybe even a bit of sloth and apathy and carelessness is a manner of life in the reign of God. What would Theophilus have thought of that kind of approach to duty and to office and to work? Now, with that thought, I have assumed that Theophilus was a Roman official, readily acquainted with the language of servants, masters, watches, duties, punishment, and he would have grasped the implications of discipleship for the regular Christian, for Peter and Paul in the book of Acts, and also for himself. The question now is not asked of Theophilus, but of you. Are you ready for action as a servant? What will the Lord find as your activity or the result of your activity when He returns in glory? Have you distributed what was given to you? Have you used fully? Are you fully employing what the Lord has given to you? One of my first questions to you today was and still is, who gave to you your call as servant? Not only God, but what character does this God have? Is he a hard master, expecting water from stones, and leather from chickens, and eggs from bulls? Or is he a generous Lord, endowing you with the trust to manage his household goods? That character, how you confess God, then becomes the power of your duty. Is duty done out of fear, or is duty lived out in the kindness of the master? He has given to me much. I will gladly offer to him much. He has given to me this much, and I will gladly return to him whatever he has given to me. How and why could I do otherwise? That singular attitude, the devoted posture of a servant, will challenge all allegiances that you presently have or will develop. In business, in recreation, even in the household, your own dear family. Will your blood ties to family overwhelm the call of God? Will the desire for household peace and quiet throttle and diminish the peace that God gives in his house? People say, don't talk about politics and religion at meals and family gatherings. But let me ask you, what else is so fundamental to our lives? Human thriving in social order and hope and peace with the Creator. So when you speak of your allegiance to Jesus, full and complete loyalty, others may scoff. And when you acknowledge that fear and love and trust in God, above all people, all earthly summons, and the duties that follow in Commandments 2 through 10, take precedence over family traditions, obligations, expectations, you may expect division, a tearing apart of the house. You may see where loyalties and confessions truly are, what they value, what they prize, who they serve. Do you already see this in the life of our Lord Jesus? At his baptism, he intended to do the righteous will of his Father, and nothing would deter him, not physical distress in temptation, not relief and earthly glory in temptation, not his mother saying, do something about the lack of wine, not his mother and brothers attempting to remove him from the public eye, not the Pharisees and Sadducees and Herodians and their plots and threats, not the misunderstandings of the disciples, not the long days of walking, the crowds pressing in, not his betrayal by Judas, not the arrest and scourging, not the imminence of crucifixion, not the abandonment on the cross. He was always ready to serve with all that God had given to him, nothing less than all. For that is what the servant of the Lord does. From him to whom God entrusted much, the full, genuine revelation of God's grace and mercy, much was required. And Jesus gave it all. For those unfaithful who deserved beatings, Jesus gave his back. For us whose hands do not and did not do all the work, he gave his hands to be pierced. He received the most severe beating that we might remain in the house of God, but not as servants, now as sons. Therefore, what truly empowers us is not fear of a master's retribution. What strengthens us, what makes us capable and willing is that our Father has blessed us with his gifts, every perfect gift. He is willing and he is working in us to do according to his good pleasure. And by his Spirit and by his promises, we persevere in our callings. See the table of duties in the small catechism. Whatever capacity and duty he has freely and generously given to us, that he also might say to us at that last day, well done, good and faithful servant. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed.